WWE, and because he's a Hall of Famer, there really isn't much left for him to do. He's virtually done everything that a professional wrestling superstar has been capable of doing. He's definitely surpassed the careers of some of the top names in professional wrestling. He's up there with the likes of Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker, so there really isn't that much more for him to do. I would just love to see Stone Cold Steve Austin back in the role of a general manager more so than being the host of Tough Enough. I think that having him as the host of Tough Enough in 2011 was just an excuse to bring him back to the WWE. Obviously, WWE paid him a significant amount to bring him back as the host and the focal point of Tough Enough. It really disappointed me how there wasn't as much emphasis on the contestants during this season of Tough Enough as there was on Stone Cold Steve Austin. There was so much focus on legends like Booker T, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Trish Stratus that it kind of completely defeated the purpose of ever bringing back Tough Enough, because the focus should be on the talents that are actually competing for a contract. You know that they have NXT. Tough Enough's purpose is completely defeated, so there really isn't much more for Stone Cold Steve Austin to do there. So that's probably why we haven't seen him on WWE television. I would really go for a return of Stone Cold Steve Austin, though, in some capacity, more so in a non-competitive role than a competitive role. Obviously, the ratings would shoot through the roof if Stone Cold Steve Austin were to return in a competitive role, and if he were to return in a competitive role, obviously it would be under Legends contracts obligations, which means that Stone Cold Steve Austin will probably only wrestle once every 4 to 6 months, and if Stone Cold were to come back, another thing you have to look at is obviously wrestling fans would be highly demanding that Stone Cold Steve Austin were a part of every Raw, every SmackDown, and wrestling every week like he was during the Attitude Era. You're never going to have the Stone Cold Steve Austin from the Attitude Era reemerge, and I think that's something that newer wrestling fans need to understand that have seen vintage footage of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Something you need to take into account is the fact that Stone Cold Steve Austin was really worn out during the Attitude Era. Every week, 52 weeks out of a year, really 50 to 52 weeks out of an entire year, Stone Cold Steve Austin was either wrestling or he was cutting a promo. He was promoting something for the WWE, so I really don't see Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back after being worn out to his brink years ago in the WWE full-time. If he were to come back, it would be under Legends contract capacity, and we probably only see him wrestle kind of like how we see Brock Lesnar wrestle every 4 to 5 months. He wrestles at the marquee events for the WWE. The last time we saw Lesnar wrestle was at SummerSlam 2013 against CM Punk in an incredible match. Before that, it was WrestleMania 29. We have seen CM Punk and Brock Lesnar had an incredible feud, but Brock Lesnar's appearances in the WWE have been very limited, so I really don't see Brock Lesnar coming back until at least the Royal Rumble, which is really the next big event that Brock Lesnar could appear at. And if Stone Cold Steve Austin were to come back in the capacity that he were probably years ago, he would be under Legends contract. I really don't see that happening anytime soon. So if he were to come back, it would be in a role that would limit Stone Cold Steve Austin to the amount of times that he were on television and just really what he would do. The only roles I see Stone Cold Steve Austin having right now are roles of being a guest referee in the corner of some new talent, being a superstar, kind of like how he was the special referee for Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler. That was the most unbeneficiary role that Stone Cold's had in years in the WWE. Given his popularity, I think the fans of Stone Cold Steve Austin, really didn't want to see Stone Cold as the referee for a match like Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole, where Michael Cole has his first WrestleMania victory in his career. If Stone Cold Steve Austin were to come back as the special referee for any match, it probably should have been for The Miz versus John Cena, with The Rock having some kind of role to promote something that he was doing outside of the WWE. You would think that Stone Cold would be the referee for a more important match at WrestleMania than Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler. There's no one out there that can tell me that the only thing they had for Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania, with how popular he was to be the referee for Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler, where Michael Cole gets his first ever WrestleMania victory, which he's still undefeated from at WrestleMania. It's really embarrassing when you take a legend like Stone Cold Steve Austin and you have him promoted to be doing something like that at an event like WrestleMania. So hopefully if he has some role at WrestleMania 30, he has a better role than what he had at WrestleMania 27. It'll be 3 years since we've seen Stone Cold at a WrestleMania at WrestleMania 30 at that point. And I think that with how big of a name Stone Cold's been in professional wrestling for years, you can't have WrestleMania 30, in my opinion, as a radio host and columnist for HEW Entertainment Radio without Stone Cold Steve Austin, and especially with how much he's accomplished in his very short run in the WWE and in the wrestling organizations he was involved with prior to coming over to the WWE. What is my favorite Stone Cold Steve Austin moment? Well, obviously it's got to be an Austin McMahon moment, and if I were to narrow it down to just a few Austin McMahon moments, obviously the Steel Cage match from February 14th of 1999 is my all-time favorite Stone Cold Steve Austin Mr. McMahon moment. This was the first time ever they were actually in a sanctioned match. It was in a steel cage, and of course that was the night that Paul White, the Big Show, made his WWE debut, making his inaugural appearance, emerging from underneath the ring, assisting Mr. McMahon, but they didn't actually have things go the way they had originally planned it, with Stone Cold Steve Austin escaping the cage in a very unorthodox way when the cage gave way. That was my all-time favorite Austin McMahon moment, and when Mr. McMahon actually pissed his pants on an edition of Raw and then was stunned by Stone Cold Steve Austin. When Austin stunned every McMahon family member on the homecoming edition of Raw back in 2005, there are so many Stone Cold Steve Austin moments that we have seen over the years that he has been involved with WWE, but if I had to narrow it down, it would obviously come down to an Austin McMahon moment during the Attitude Era, and of course the 1999 Steel Cage match, which was really the first sanctioned match they ever had, has got to be my all-time favorite moment. And in conjunction with that, you can leave us your favorite Austin McMahon moments at the bottom of this YouTube video at youtube.com/JonathanClarke22, which I will archive for you and feature for you. You can also follow us on Twitter at JonathanClarke1, and you can touch base with us on Facebook, which has over 1,000 fans at facebook.com/HW Entertainment. Everyone is talking about this huge rumor of Stone Cold Steve Austin returning to the WWE, so I thought I would offer some elaborate thoughts on Stone Cold Steve Austin possibly returning to the WWE. There has been a lot of rumors over the past couple of weeks. There have been more rumors than I can remember since becoming a radio host in columns 14 years ago, this time in 2013. Out of all the years that I've been covering professional wrestling, I can't ever remember a time that there have been so many rumors like there have been over the past couple of months. Everything from Kelly returning, the Brothers of Destruction reunion, and now Stone Cold Steve Austin. Of course, there's always the occasional rumor of when we'll see Brock Lesnar compete again, when The Rock will return, if we'll see Cena Rock 3. There are so many rumors, but this has got to be one of the top 3 rumors going around professional wrestling news websites and wrestling discussion forums found throughout the internet. So if you have an opinion on Stone Cold Steve Austin's return and what capacity he'll return in, usually it's a general manager or a CEO role or something like that. If you have an opinion, you can let us know on Facebook at facebook.com/HW Entertainment, on Twitter at JonathanClarke1, and on YouTube, the newly redesigned YouTube 1 channel of HW Entertainment, which has now over 20,000 channel views. Congratulations to all of you for getting HW Entertainment's official YouTube to this point. We couldn't have done it without all of you. Continue viewing us at youtube.com/JonathanClarke22. I was on the YouTube channel the other day and I noticed there were over 20,000 views. In addition to that, we have had some additional new subscribers to our subscribers section of our YouTube channel. So there's a lot going on and happening for HW Entertainment's official YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. There are buttons to access our YouTube channel found throughout our entire website. Something interesting too I noticed on WWE.com prior to Daniel Bryan versus John Cena for the WWE title at SummerSlam, Stone Cold Steve Austin actually offered some thoughts on this championship match, and he offered the bottom line for Daniel Bryan. There's a column on WWE.com that they distribute on a weekly basis where Stone Cold Steve Austin offers his very candid thoughts on things happening within the WWE and the new talent initiative and the development of it. The name of the column is The Bottom Line, and it's a very interesting read for fans of articles found throughout WWE.com. It's a fantastic addition to JR's blog, which you can find on WWE.com and JR's BBQ.com. So that's what we're seeing from Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, columns and special guest referee roles. Is this really cutting it for Stone Cold Steve Austin fans? And if you're a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan by chance listening to the show, is this the kind of role that you want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin in? A question that I could use as a poll for this week's edition of our video blog on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm speaking to Stone Cold Steve Austin fans in general, speaking to all of you. Is these the kind of roles that you want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin in, or would you want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin doing something more beneficiary than what he's been subjected to over the past couple of months? I want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin back in a better role than what we've seen over the past number of years. The last time we saw him was in 2011, a column called The Bottom Line and a guest referee role for Stone Cold Steve Austin, making the occasional appearance kind of on a come-and-go-again basis, is really not cutting it for Stone Cold Steve Austin, and of course Stone Cold Steve Austin fans who have supported Austin ever since his Hall of Fame induction in 2007 and long before that. Stone Cold Steve Austin's career spans years. Even before coming to the WWE, he was involved with World Championship Wrestling and Extreme Championship Wrestling. Stunning Steve Austin is just one of the many names Austin had throughout his professional wrestling career, and yes, there was a time Austin had here, believe it or not, for the newer fans of professional wrestling. Vintage Austin footage can be found on YouTube. I was on YouTube the other day browsing through wrestling matches from the 1990s and 1980s, and there was a considerable amount of Stone Cold Steve Austin footage. You can virtually pull up any match of Austin's career, and unquestionably, that just goes a long way in showing and demonstrating for wrestling fans of today's era of professional wrestling just how big of a name Austin is. I said earlier on in the show that if you were to compile a list of top 5 superstars from any era of professional wrestling, Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels would somewhere be on that list. But Stone Cold Steve Austin's name definitely would be somewhere within the top 3, if not in the top position on that list. So if you want to, leave us your top 5 list of wrestlers from any era of professional wrestling. And of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin is definitely somewhere on that list, and he's definitely earned the reputation of being the most dominant and iconic superstar from any era of professional wrestling and the WWE in general. I'm your host, Jonathan Clarke, offering you an opinion on Austin's rumor returns that have been going around professional wrestling news websites and discussional forums for quite some time. And if you have an opinion, you can leave us for us at the bottom of this YouTube video on Facebook and on Twitter. I've got some music lined up for you next. Rodney Hauser and Running in the Moonlight after the break.
When something takes place in the world of professional wrestling, you know where to go. WrestleZone.com. WrestleZone.com. Covering all the latest breaking news daily. Interactive forums where you can chat with thousands of other wrestling fans. Exclusive editorials and audio features by some of today's top wrestling superstars. Exclusive video content. Weekly polls. Live play-by-play coverage.